Eric, we were just struck by something you said. We want you to repeat this to make sure we heard it right. You said someone was up on the 80-somethingth floor and rode the crash down?
Yes, that's the story that we're hearing here. It hasn't been confirmed. But what the dawn brings, the horror and also some hope. Right now, as we're standing here, the scene behind me, an ongoing rescue of two people, one a 50-year-old man. It seems miraculous that anyone could have survived this catastrophe, but 4 people so far have. 4, not very many when you consider that the death toll could be about 10,000 people. Those 4 people are a woman, a New York City firefighter who was pulled out of the wreckage, and 2 Port Authority cops who, one of the officers, I'm told, actually told his rescuers that he was on the 82nd floor when the building collapsed and that he rode the building down from the 82nd floor. Let's now take a look at the mass cam here. It gives you a little bit of a higher perspective.
That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling.
It's just unbelievable as these details filter in these news reports and these investigations. And this is just the beginning. It's going to go on for weeks. It's going to go on for years. Disbelief, shock, and anger. Let's go back to Lower Manhattan, where the search for survivors continues to take place, even at 4:35 a.m. New York time.
That is where our senior correspondent Eric Shawn is on the scene. Good morning to you, Eric.
Well, good morning. It is a race against time that has just begun as the searchers frantically look for any survivors. Of course, there's the fear that thousands have died in this horrible, horrible terrorist attack. Earlier today, estimates of upwards of 10,000, but there is here and there some good news. 4 people so far have been pulled out alive. A woman a little earlier this morning, a New York City firefighter, and 2 New York City Port Authority police officers a little earlier, both of them in good condition. So the task before the rescuers, and there are 2,000, upwards of 2,000 National Guard and others who are just now at work trying to move the massive pieces of debris and destruction with cranes and heavy equipment. One of the doctors told me that they have recovered, have been recovering many body parts from this scene. Of course, other people to escape just panically jumped out the windows together. One couple was even holding hands. As part of the effort to try and get to some of the material out and moved, that is really the greatest task. With me now is Daniel Molina. He is a construction worker. You can see you've been here since 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Yes, I came here to, to help the people over there.
And what type of work have you been doing? What specifically have you been doing there?
We was just moving big pieces of steel and stuff like that to, to try to see if we can find somebody alive. We find some people over there. They pull like 4 people out, and that's all I see. And it's a bad situation over there because the whole building, you can see the whole building down, and it's a mess.
Did you see any of the people who survived being pulled out?
Yes, I saw 4 people that they was pulling out.
Did you see what condition they were in?
Oh no, I can't tell you really. I saw the people how they was hurt, but they was hurt because I saw when they was pulling out the people.
Now you have your safety glasses, your suit, which covers you completely, a contamination suit, your rope. What do they have you do physically? Pull steel
pulling
and metal?
Out the steel, metals, and all that kind of stuff. Even cars, because they have police cars over there that they are in the middle in the scene, and they got to clean all that.
So police cars that are under the rubble, under tons of concrete and steel and bars
all
and broken windows.
Stuff. And also some of the building, they're still on fire, so that's why the fire department cannot really get inside in the Twin Tower now, because the building, they're still on fire.
Daniel, thank you for coming. Go home, get some rest before you come back here.
Thanks.
With the rest of us.
Well, let's update you exactly on the current conditions. What we know right now is that fire and unstable conditions are at the site of the World Trade Center, and that is making rescue attempts very difficult. There are approximately 2,000 rescue workers down there right now trying to find survivors, and the good news is there have been some people found alive.
Brian, Stephen Eady, good morning. You wouldn't think that anyone could possibly survive the carnage, the destruction of the World Trade Center of 2 110-story towers, as well as number 7, a 48-story tall building. At this early hour of this morning, we so far have 4 people who have been pulled from the rubble, miraculously alive. They include 2 New York City Port Authority police officers who are said to be in good condition, a woman who we don't know her condition, and a New York City firefighter who was conscious and talking, we're told. So far, 4 people, not very many when you consider the thousands that work here, 50,000 every day. Also, there has been 2 inches of soot and ash still on the streets from that, as well as a plume of white smoke that just eerily continues to surround the gaping hole and some of the burnout hulk of the number 7 World Trade Center, which was a 48-story office tower that exploded. So we have a very familiar sight when we think of the Khobar bombing, just a mixture, while the workers here try to go after the people who are still alive, the survivors still alive, trying to, of course, rescue as many people as they can. It will be a long and arduous process that will continue through daybreak and through the days to come. Who knows how many people they will be able to pull out of here successfully. And so far, of all those people who work in the World Trade Center that were not evacuated, only 4. But just the fact that 4 people have been pulled out alive is enough to give hope and inspiration to the workers who are here this morning. Huge piles of debris, and sticking up out of some of that debris, the Stars and Stripes, Old Glory, as if it is defiantly saying, we will continue, the spirit of this country is not broken. There are other victims in the rubble who are calling authorities and calling loved ones on their cell phones. One doctor I talked to said really that there are horribly many body parts that have been found, and they're trying to have accounted for. Great fears for the first emergency workers who responded to the scene. 300 New York City firefighters feared dead. They're missing. Dozens of police officers also feared dead.
I had a chance to go all the way down there, right into the end, and all I saw was just thousands of firemen, half of which needed oxygen because they had the smoke inhalation. The other ones couldn't even get close because they couldn't penetrate in. Both buildings had just crashed. The smoke was just unbelievable. If you didn't have a mask and a shield or even a gas mask, you really couldn't do anything. And I just couldn't believe the amount of dust, debris, papers around. Yeah. No one really talking to each other.
One thing that really overcame me late last night was speaking to one of the emergency room nurses who said that when they had the first wave of injuries, mostly police officers and rescue workers, they were so covered in soot that they could not differentiate between them.
We had a number of smoke inhalations and inhalational injuries to the lungs, fire and hot air burning people's lungs.
You know, it's amazing to think that anyone could even survive this. Estimates of the death toll is high, perhaps as 10,000, 50,000 people work in this building, and the heroes of this morning are the miraculous search and rescue folks who are risking their lives.
The police department has warned people, do not come down here. This area is only for emergency personnel. If you try to come down to Lower Manhattan below 14th Street, you will be arrested.
Now, among them, we have one with us now who's Tanya Lofgren. Tanya is a volunteer. You're a manager at Crate and Barrel in Boston?
I'm an East Coast operations manager.
And get this, folks, you are a volunteer. You heard this call. You've done this before, search and rescue, and you came down here to New York City. Describe what you do, what you see, what do you look for when you try to save people who are trapped in the concrete?
Basically, we go in groups of 10 or 12, relatively small groups. And we often will go where the firemen aren't able to travel. So we go a little bit further in, crawling under much of the debris, very slowly and carefully. And we try calling out for people if they hear of our voices, to please tap if they could find something near them, make a sound. After we're calling, we're all very still for several minutes to hear for any sign of...
Did you hear any tapping or any sound?
Well, there was one point where we thought we heard some tapping. We repeated it 3 or 4 times. We thought we heard some tapping. We concentrated in that area for over an hour. I think there were 6 or 7 people with me, and... We don't know if we really heard anything or not. There's just so much debris shifting, but we made an attempt.
Now you're climbing in, I mean, tons of concrete, jagged steel. I mean, this stuff could fall on you and kill you.
I suppose that's true, although much of it has settled. At least we tried to find the huge I-beams, which are about 1.5 feet in width.
And you go down in between those in there looking for people?
We use those for actually like as if there were planks, and try to get further and further in. It's amazing. So what the firemen have been able to do, they've been able to stage some ladders throughout the debris so that people can go in those areas to do some more searching. But it's very sad, frustrating, horrible.
Do you think they'll be able to find many people alive in there?
You know, all you can do is hope. All you can do is hope. You hope they can.
Tanya, thank you, and our salute to you for volunteering and coming down here to try and save people's lives.
Everybody else that's still down there, they deserve it.
Thank you. So far, thanks to the work of the search and rescue and the firefighters and police officers, unbelievably, but 4 people have been rescued so far, we're told. One is a woman. Another is a New York City firefighter who was trapped. He is apparently doing well. 2 New York City Port Authority police officers in good condition. Some, unbelievably, but some were calling on their cell phone to a 911 and authorities as well as to their loved ones to indicate that they were still alive and are still alive inside some of those ruins. It is miraculous that anyone survived, but so far any good news that there is here this morning that we can report is that 4 people have been pulled out alive from the ruins of the World Trade Center.
I remember when the Oklahoma City Federal Building was detonated, it collapsed straight down, and they didn't hold out a lot of hope for finding people, but they did pull a few live people from the rubble.
If it falls down and completely telescopes inside, theoretically you've got pockets and whole areas, such as Tanya was telling us from search and rescue, that people can still be alive and trapped and just trying to hopefully wait for being rescued.
Absolutely.
Because of this. That's why authorities here are not giving up, and when they found the first 2 Port Authority police officers alive, there was great rejoicing here. That's a real inspiration to try and urge the people here on to continue, that there can be hope that some people could be found, but the death toll could reach as high perhaps as 10,000 people.
We just saw live pictures of Eric Shawn at the World Trade Center, where they are still feverishly looking for bodies. A lot of those people who are pulled out are taken to Chelsea Pier, where we join Heather Nauert live right now. Good morning to you, Heather.
Good morning. We're on the west side of Manhattan, just north of the World Trade Center. We're here at what is normally a sports complex, but today it's being used as a triage center. It's called the Chelsea Piers Triage Center, where they're expected to bring people who are seeking medical treatment and eventually bring bodies. Now, nobody has shown up dead, or no dead people are here yet. Now, we're here with the head volunteer coordinator of the Chelsea Piers Triage Unit. He was also the head volunteer coordinator at the Oklahoma City bombing. His name is Thad Proctor. Thad, how can you compare the situation to what you saw in Oklahoma City?
In Oklahoma City, it was more unorganized, basically because we didn't know what to expect. A lot of people that worked here in this, they have also worked in the Oklahoma City. They've all come from different places, such as South Carolina, Massachusetts, so we really know kind of what we're doing now.
Based on your experience from what you saw when you were at Oklahoma City, is there any chance that people can be pulled? Of course, they found some people last night, but any chance that people can be pulled and treated and come out of this alive?
There is a chance. There's a great chance. Just like at Oklahoma, we found a lot of people. There's always a chance of people being saved.
And there is some good news this morning. Incredibly, out of all those 10 or 20 or 30,000 people who are in the World Trade Center, so far this morning, 4. Just 4, but those are 4 of hope. 4 people pulled out alive from the ruins of the World Trade Center. Let's show the mass cam now. You can see the smoke and smoldering wreckage. You've got just smoldering ruins, a 4 or 5 story tall skeletal exterior of it in the middle of the street, as well as a mound. But just take a look on the right of your screen with what is defiantly standing proudly out of the mound, and now it's the flags, Old Glory, the Stars and Stripes, as well as the flags of the city and state of New York, untouched, as if they are saying to the terrorists, take this. They are still standing. More than 2,000 search and rescue workers have been frantically working through the night to rescue the people. The 4 who have been rescued include a woman, 1 firefighter, and 2 Port Authority police officers.
Eric Shawn is at the site of where once stood 2 miraculous buildings, the World Trade Center. Eric, you're now at Ground Zero. What's the latest?
What the dawn brings, the horror and also some hope. Right now, as we're standing here, the scene behind me, an ongoing rescue of 2 people, one a 50-year-old man. It seems miraculous that anyone could have survived this catastrophe, but 4 people so far have. 4, not very many when you consider that the death toll could be about 10,000 people. Those 4 people are a woman, a New York City firefighter who was pulled out of the wreckage, and 2 Port Authority cops who, one of the officers, I'm told, actually told his rescuers that he was on the 82nd floor when the building collapsed and that he rode the building down from the 82nd floor. Let's now take a look at the mass cam here. It gives you a little bit of a higher perspective of what you're looking at. You've got rubble, and in the middle of the street, Church Street in Lower Manhattan, the actual stainless steel facade of some of the windows, a few stories of the World Trade Center, as you can see in the middle of that street. The rust color part of the building on the side is number 7, which was the 3rd building, the 48-story tall building to go down. And there on the left, Old Glory, the Stars and Stripes, still proudly waving almost defiantly to the terrorists, brazenly saying, "You have not defeated our spirit." Let's look at some video now that we shot earlier this morning when it was still dark. 2,000 search and rescue people here, frantically, desperately going through the tons of concrete, steel, twisted metal, and debris, trying to search for people. We have reports that some people in the basement area have been and had been making phone calls on their cell phones to authorities and to loved ones. So far, at least 6 people that we know of have been able to survive, and in the ongoing effort to try and pull them out. The heroes at this moment are the people who are risking their own lives to go into this damaged building. They do it voluntarily. We have 2 of them live now. Anthony Delicato and Agrippo Casacchio is with us. Guys, you were in there all night. What was it like for you to be in the wreckage of the World Trade Center?
Oh, God, it's devastating. I can't describe it. I really, I tell you the truth, to be honest with you, it's very dangerous to be up there. And everyone who's up there right now, like I said, there's voids that are 50, 60 feet deep, and you got to be very careful up there. And you are actually, I mean, the police and the fire department are definitely risking their lives. Well,
so when you say voids, you mean there's concrete and holes 50, 60 feet deep?
Yeah, some of them are so deep that you can't even see to the bottom of them. So, you know, like you're walking along all the beams, and then all of a sudden you see something that looks like it's solid, and it's not. And you know, you got to be very careful.
And what do you do when you go in there?
When you go into the voids, you search for, you're trying to find people. You're yelling, you're screaming for them. I mean, you know, it's a search and find rescue. You know, I mean,
what's it like when you go in there? Can you see?
That's total chaos. Debris flying all over. Visibility is very, very low. We were shouting if anybody would hear us for help. We would scream out to them. We would flash flashlights on, on any kind of debris. We seen anything moving. we won piles that were like 7 stories high, and it was pretty dangerous.
What did you see when you went down? You went down into some of the basement area. What was that like?
There was a Krispy Kreme store down there that we saw that was pretty much intact. I mean, it's devastated, but it's still intact. You know, you can walk around in it.
It's just twisted iron, cement all over the place. It's just a total mess.
How far in front of you can you see?
Not that far. I mean, believe it or not, we worked most of the night blind. I mean, the soot in your eyes. It was, you're walking on this debris up there.
Like 5-foot visibility.
5 feet?
Yes.
Were you able to see any bodies, or were you able to find anyone?
No, unfortunately not. We tried, but...
And you guys do this voluntarily?
Yes, we do.
That is amazing. That is one of the heroic stories of the great people who are busily working here, the New York City Fire Department, the police department, and guys like these 2 folks who are volunteering their time and risking their lives to help save the lives of others. Live from the former World Trade Center here in New York, Eric Shawn, Fox News. Back to you in the studio.
Eric. Eric, we were just struck by something you said. We want you to repeat this to make sure we heard it right. You said someone was up on the 80-somethingth floor and rode the crash down?
Yes, that's the story that we're hearing here. It hasn't been confirmed, but apparently when this police officer, one of the two Port Authority police officers, was pulled out of the wreckage, right, guys? He was saying that he wrote it down.
He's saying that he was on 82nd floor and somebody was asking him repeatedly, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Said yes.
And he swore up and down. He was on the 82nd floor and he wrote everything down. He wrote the building down. He went down with the building.
Wow. And not only that, his wife's pregnant?
His wife was 8 months pregnant, and she was calling repeatedly to his boss, and miraculously, within 3 minutes, they pulled him out.
And this he's alive.
Some injuries to his legs, but he seems to be okay.
And that is amazing. Maybe just a broken leg if this fellow, that Port Authority police officer was able to ride that building all the way down from the 82nd floor.
All right. Sean, thanks very much.
With me now is Brian Kemp. He is one of the search and rescue fellows here. Brian, you're volunteering?
I'm a volunteer.
You're going in there. What makes you go in there and risk your life basically through that rubble to help other people?
You just do what you feel you got to do in your heart. And we just went, I mean, there were a number of volunteers.
What's that like in there?
It was hot, but nothing compared to the agony a lot of those guys went through when they lost their friends, family.
You were there when John McLaughlin was brought out. Set that scene for us when this officer was rescued.
Well, there was great excitement among all the firefighters and the police department and all the volunteers, firefighters and police departments from around the area. They created 2 big lines and helped carry him through. You know, just kind of like passed him on. And all the way to the ambulance.
Like a line, like a bucket of water line.
Like a bucket of water line. And he went through very quickly, very safely, and there was a lot of cheering when they finally got into the ambulance and got him on his way.
What did that mean to you, and what did that mean to them to see someone saved?
I think it was very uplifting to them. They were very excited. They were very happy. I think it was exciting for the professional staff as well as the volunteer staff. It meant that, you know, that they were able to succeed in something in this tragic situation.
Brian Kemp, thank you. One of the miracle stories. We hope certainly there'll be many more throughout today and throughout the coming days of rescues of people who are trapped in the rubble of this horrible terrorist attack. Back to you in the studio.
Is there something about a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking story like this that means we need to believe in miracles?
Yeah, well, we have some new information that with the daylight brings not just the horror but also hope. So far, at least 9 people have been rescued. Thankfully, 9 people. The latest were 5 firefighters. There are 3 Port Authority police officers have been rescued, and another woman. Also, efforts underway right now to try and go after a 50-year-old man. One of the most amazing stories we have today is that one of the Port Authority officers who was rescued from beneath the debris, he told his rescuers that he rode the building down, that he was on the 82nd floor of the World Trade Center tower when it just imploded into itself, and he just rode the building down, as incredible as that sounds.
That surfing kind of feeling.
Suffering only a broken leg. His wife is 8 months pregnant. The building pancaked completely within itself. There is a 5-story stack of debris that are in the center of where the basement was. That is still on fire. Some of that is on fire, and that is the cause of the smoke that has been continuing. But 2,000 search and rescue experts are now trying to sift through all the debris, the broken concrete, the tangled ruins, the steel. A very hazardous and dangerous job.
Catherine Herridge is live at St. Vincent's Hospital in New York. That is where many of the victims of the Trade Center catastrophe were taken. And you're joined by the chief of surgery, I believe?
Yes, that's right. We're joined by Dr. Mark Wallach, and I understand that you have been making rounds this morning. Can you describe to us what you've seen?
Well, we saw 360 individuals yesterday.
What's your greatest concern going forward now, especially in terms of the numbers that have been coming to the hospital?
My greatest concern was my concern yesterday at 1 o'clock We didn't see anybody. We waited for more, and there were none coming. I sent residents and faculty to the triage center at Chelsea Piers. No one was there. So I think everybody can deduce how sad this event is.
Workers continue to dig through the ruins of what were once the Twin Towers. Still no official death toll there, but the number of dead expected to be huge. At this moment, some people remain trapped, buried alive under the rubble. And miraculously, some continue to be rescued.
Well, John, the miracle man of the World Trade Center has got to be John McLaughlin. He is a New York City Port Authority police officer, and the guys who rescued him say John McLaughlin was on the 82nd floor of this building of the World Trade Center, one of the towers, and he rode that building down into the rubble from the 82nd floor. He was rescued just about an hour or so ago, apparently with only a broken leg. There was some consideration that they would have to amputate that leg. Some amputation equipment was brought in. It was decided that they did not, so he has been removed. His wife, I'm told, is 8 months pregnant. One of the miracle rescue stories that is going on here this morning. So far, at least 9 people have been rescued, 5 New York City firefighters, 3 police officers, perhaps another woman.
What we also know at this point is that they are hoping beyond hope that they'll be able to rescue people, though they did confirm to me that they've had none of the survivors that had been pulled from the rubble at the hospital to this point.
Our Heather Nauert is at what is a triage center and a temporary morgue on Chelsea Piers. So, Heather, what is the biggest activity?
And as of yet, we have not seen any survivors, at least at this location, who were in the rubble from yesterday.
To survive this avalanche of 500,000 tons of steel and concrete seemed like a miracle.
We talked with 2 Red Cross workers just a while ago. They had been there since 11 a.m. yesterday. They said that they personally saw 20 to 30 body bags being brought out. They were stationed over at the American Express building, which is in the World Financial Complex. They said that they can't imagine that anyone could be brought out alive from what they saw down there. John?
This heavy equipment is being moved in because overnight we have had a meticulous, pinpoint, excruciating, frustrating, detailed, step-by-step hand search of some of the rubble. This gleaming, glorious 110-story Twin Tower reduced to basically a 5-story mound of rubble. That number includes 5 firefighters, 3 police officers, and another man. So at least 9 people so far have been saved. Of course, so many thousand perhaps still missing, and who have died in this tragedy. The miracle man of this incident, though, of course, has to be police officer John McLaughlin of the Port Authority Police Department. He told rescuers when he was rescued a couple of hours ago that he was on the 82nd floor of one of the towers, and he rode that tower down when it imploded on itself. He landed in between the 2 towers in what was a huge ornamental plaza, basically with just a broken leg. At one point they thought they would have to amputate that leg, but they did not. John McLaughlin, gloriously alive. Certainly that gave the rescuers a great inspiration to keep on going, keep on pushing, and there are 2,000 busily at work, searching hand by hand with dogs.
Yeah, the latest information we have is that 5 firefighters have been brought here. Hospital officials, though, have emphasized to us that they were not pulled from the rubble, but they did tell officials alive.
It's our hope. There were 2 Port Authority police officers late last night who were taken from the rubble alive and saved, and there are some indications that there might be people who have been able to communicate by cell phone in the rubble. So
nobody really understands how this miracle came about.
Well, David, right you are. They are going in there, and they are in there. Several teams of search and rescue inside, down under those tons of debris and twisted metal and iron and steel, right inside there, searching for any survivors that they could possibly find. In the middle of this horror and this horrific scene, there is hope. Even though thousands are believed to be dead, thousands buried deep within the former gleaming and glorious structure that the World Trade Center was, all 110 stories, now reduced to basically a 5-story hump and clump of concrete. 9 people have survived. They were pulled out overnight. 5 New York City firefighters, 2 or 3 police officers, and 1 man. And of course, the miracle story of one police officer, John McFarland, who rode this building down. He was on the 82nd floor of the building. When he rode it down to the bottom, he was found pinned under some concrete. They thought he would have to amputate his leg. They did not. Right now, the fire has increased. The smoke has increased.
It is really total devastation.
Did you see any bodies while you were in there?
Unfortunately, we did, but it's just too horrible to describe, really.
But no survivors?
No, I haven't witnessed any survivors as of yet.
Clearly, there was a big cheer that went up when the one police officer was rescued, because that really gave a lot of everybody inspiration. Were you there for that?
No, we weren't there for that. You know, we showed up later.
2 brave New York City detectives, Detectives Gonzalez and Suarez. You were here at 6 in the morning yesterday morning, so we're going past 24 hours for you folks.
Linda, the latest information we have is that they've taken on 5 more firefighters at the hospital this morning. They were brought here because of exhaustion. They had been working for over 24 hours. Hospital officials emphasizing to us that they were not pulled from the rubble, but they have learned that the activity in downtown Manhattan is intensifying. Of course, that is good news because they're hoping beyond hope that there will be more survivors here.
All right. We heard earlier, Catherine Herridge, some very disturbing news that while the facilities exist and while doctors are on hand and everybody's lining up to give blood, there aren't too many victims being brought into hospitals, which leads a lot of people to believe that the death toll will be in the thousands.
It's absolutely right, David. Actually, earlier today, I confirmed with a senior hospital official that since midnight, they have not taken any casualties from ground zero from the disaster scene. They have only taken emergency workers, the police officers, and some of the firefighters I mentioned. And what they keep telling us is that they are hopeful and they are determined to help. But of course, with every passing hour, that hope, of course, has to fade.
You talk about the lack of victims, sadly, in the sense that more people will not be able to be treated at the hospital, indicating they could be dead. You wouldn't think that anyone could survive this 2 110-story buildings and the 48 number 7 World Trade Center, but in fact, at least 9 people have survived. They were miraculously plucked from in that debris. 4 New York City firefighters, 3 cops, 1 man, one of those police officers, Port Authority officer John McLaughlin. The miracle man of this day here, he, according to the rescuers, rode that building down from the 82nd floor when he was rescued and pulled out from underneath the debris. Largely volunteer. There are 2,000, at least 2,000 search and rescue folks digging with their hands, with some machinery, getting the massive contorted ironworks and cement and concrete out, searching for victims. So far, at least 9 that we have learned have been rescued, have been saved. We have some astonishing video, which I think we have taken inside the search area, right up inside the search area, which shows you exactly what's happening. This human condition, this human, superhuman effort to try and save people and to try and get people out from under what they call voids, which are hidden areas deep underneath this twisted rubble where people could still be alive, could still be breathing. Some of those people had made phone calls to their families and to authorities from the cell phones. So far, 9 have survived at least. 4 New York City firefighters, 3 cops, a businessman, we understand. One of those police officers, the miracle man of this story, he went down about 82 stories or so and rode the whole World Trade Center down and survived with leg injuries. With me now is Chris Invortson.
So far, we are told that 9 people have been found alive at the scene. The most miraculous story, that of a Port Authority policeman named John McLaughlin. He was on the 82nd floor of one of the towers when the building collapsed. He says he rode the debris to the ground, and incredibly, he only suffered 2 broken legs and some broken ankles, but other than that, he is fine. Neil, authorities at this hour are in a race against the clock to get to the survivors trapped under the rubble that was once the World Trade Center. Now, we have some videotape recorded just a short time ago at the scene. This is a home videotape, and it is the most recent video that will show you exactly what is taking place only a few blocks from where I am now standing. So far, 9 survivors have been pulled from the rubble. Thousands, though, are feared missing, presumed dead. The most miraculous story to date, a Port Authority cop named John McLaughlin. He was on the 82nd floor of one of the towers when the building collapsed. He says he rode the debris to the ground, and incredibly, he only suffered 2 broken legs. Now, 6 New York City firefighters have also been found alive, but unfortunately, these type of stories are really far and few between. Right now, as many as 259 cops, firemen, and uniformed personnel, EMS workers, those who were first on the scene, are still reported to be missing.
Now, what we've had in the last 90 minutes is 5 firefighters have been brought here. They've been brought here for exhaustion. Hospital officials really going out of their way to emphasize that they were not rescued from the rubble.
At last, some good news. Emergency workers rescue at least 9 survivors from the Trade Center debris. And the situation continues to change here by the minute. Just a short time ago, all of the rescue workers on site were evacuated, forced out of the area because of concerns that yet more buildings might collapse.
We also have some numbers for you that tell us that 9 people have now been pulled from the wreckage. The most miraculous story, that of a police officer, Port Authority police officer identified as John McLaughlin. He was on the 82nd floor when suddenly the building began to give way. He said he rode the debris all the way down to the ground. Miraculously, he suffered only broken legs. 6 other firefighters have also been rescued, but these stories are few and they are far between. Right now, 55 bodies have been pulled from the wreckage. We are told 300 firemen are still missing.
Some 120 dump trucks full of debris rolling out of here overnight, and more this morning and early this afternoon. But much of that work has now been suspended. The search operations scaled way back because of these new concerns about buildings falling down. But
we'll take you right back down there. But there was some good news today. The FBI working hard. A SWAT team dressed in riot gear and bulletproof vests and helmets and shield, armed with machine guns, searching for suspects and storming a hotel in the city of Boston. They now have a pretty darn good idea of exactly what happened. When that plane went through that building, the flames so hot and so intense that eventually, not immediately, but eventually it melted the steel there.
And this unbelievable sound, I still remember the sound of steel, these massive steel beams that are roughly 5 feet deep, twisting around us like they were little twist ties off a loaf of bread. I'll never forget it.
I feel now it's an important story to share. That surfing kind of feeling.
Please join us again next time, and in the meantime, stay tuned for news, fair and balanced as always.
Nicolas Cage stars in World Trade Center as Sergeant John McLaughlin, one of 2 Port Authority police officers who miraculously survived the most horrific attack when the Twin Towers came crashing down around them as they were trying to save innocent people who were trapped. Cage talks about the insight he gained from meeting McLaughlin.
One of the things that I learned from talking with John was clearly, how did you survive this?
You can't let this consume you. So, thank God the good Lord made us strong of mind. But get on? You better believe we're getting on. We got to focus on what is the important thing. And the important thing is, what's tomorrow?
A survivor opens his eyes.
I just opened up my eyes and saw blue sky. I really thought I was dead.
With the survivor's story that's just now being publicly told for the first time. In a moment, we'll talk to Pasquale Bazzelli. He was in the North Tower and says he rode down more than 15 stories of concrete and falling debris to make it out alive. It's the focus of a Discovery Channel special premiering tonight called The 9/11 Surfer.
That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing.
Up above, on the 64th floor of the North Tower, Pasquale Bazzelli was still waiting with his colleagues. Pasquale and his colleagues started down one of the building's 3 exit stairways, Stairway B.
But there would be a price to pay for those who owed their life to the miracle of Stairway B.
By 10:28, they'd made it down as far as the 22nd floor.
And then just felt the railing just start to shake, and this loud noise from above me. I've never experienced jumping out of a plane, but I guess falling or jumping out of a plane, that feeling of just riding the air, and getting knocked around and riding, that surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing.
According to Pasquale, his fall ended here, at the top of what was left of Stairway B.
The miracle of Stairway B. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing.
I didn't feel anything. My body was totally numb. I mean, I felt nothing at all.
Fortunately for Pasquale, there were firefighters out there who were willing to brave the dangers in the hope of finding survivors.
Why now? It's been 11 years. You've never come forward and told this story. Why did you decide this is the time to tell what happened publicly?
I feel now it's an important story to share with others. So my wife and I decided to actually write a book and put it down, and then they did this on Discovery Channel. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling. That surfing kind of feeling.
That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing. That surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing.
Suffering only a broken leg, his wife is 8 months pregnant. The building pancaked completely within itself. There is a 5-story stack of debris that are in the center of where the basement was. That is still on fire. Some of that is on fire, and that is because of the smoke that has been continuing. But 2,000 search and rescue experts are now trying to sift through all the debris, the broken concrete.
But there would be a price to pay for those who owed their life to the miracle of Stairway B.
Dangerous job.
I worked on it. Right on this corner. I connected all those down. What is the antenna? Where's the antenna?
Marine 2 to Marine 6, Lieutenant Phillips. Squad 602. Squad 41 to Squad 18, Captain Downey.
110-story building fell down right on top of us, and I'm on the 3rd floor looking at sunlight.
Hey, that's great. Also, would you make everyone aware that we're going to be seeing some tape? Holy shit. Jesus!
Another big reason to be skeptical is physics.
According to Pasquale, his fall ended here, at the top of what was left of Stairway B.
Another big reason to be skeptical is physics.
Is there something about a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking story like this that means we need to believe in miracles?